There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, here with the stay-at-home super mum and legend Jo Stanley. Good to see you.
Very kind. I must say, I'm very happy to escape the house because I'm feeling, like many people, that the days just are very, very same. You know, you're managing the house, you're managing homeschooling, you're cooking all the time, and the cleaning. I got to tell you, I'm very happy to be here. I don't know about you, Darcy.
It's always good to be here with you, Jo, but there is a bit of getting a bit of time back and also a bit of the mundane routine that's going on at the moment. Also thinking about our friend Hinesy, who's being as creative as he always is. He's going to give us some great tips on how to work out the whole body while you're at home, and he's also serving up a mean chocolate mousse, Jo.
Oh, I can't wait for that. And if we think we have it tough, how would you go being in lockdown for 9 months in complete darkness? We meet a scientist who did just that, who has some fantastic advice on how to survive social isolation, conflicts and crises.
Hey, speaking of inspirations, we've talked a lot about innovations to come out of this pandemic, and there's one that I found particularly appealing, Jo, that's come out of Belgium. We're going to catch up with the creator of this invention later in the show.
Plus, we'll look at how tracking technology is helping fight the flu and meet a guy who ate nothing but potatoes for a whole year. So, I don't know. Let's call him Mr. Potato Head, Darcy.
Well, probably fair. Now, I've got a surname Darcy and come from an Irish background, so I seriously love spuds, but every meal for a whole year? I don't know about that. That sounds a bit crazy. Let's kick off today's show by celebrating our stay-at-home champions, and that is our pets. The extra walks and attention they're getting, and they're just great company too, Jo, which is definitely an upside of social restriction.
Oh, absolutely. I would be lost without our Labrador Daisy, particularly for our daughter who has no siblings. We can chuck Daisy on the trampoline with her. Pure joy. And the other trend is the massive rise in rescue dogs and cats being adopted from shelters. The RSPCA has seen numbers double, Darcy, which is awesome.
Well, who better to lift our spirits if you're feeling a little bit lonely or down, Jo? Our dog Dennis is an absolute champion. He's easily the favourite in our house of everyone. But of course, caring for a pet is for life, as we always say. So the worry is that there'll be a lot of animals that will become homeless after the restrictions are lifted. So if you're going to do it, then you have to make sure it's a long-term commitment.
Absolutely. But what's happening now is that many healthcare and essential workers are struggling to look after their much-loved companions. So one Sydney animal lover is helping fill the gap by providing low-cost care and accommodation to pets whose owners are too busy or sick to look after them. Come here. Through. For 40 years, Andrew's pet hotel chain has been a barking success. But with flights grounded and most pet owners staying at home, the family business has taken a big hit.
We've had a downturn in our business, mainly because our business relies a lot on people travelling. And as we all know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, it has slowed up dramatically. So instead of putting a white flag up and moving forward for another 6 months down the track, we decided to set up a community program called Pets in Our Life.
Determined to keep the business afloat, Andrew turned adversity into opportunity. Now, almost all of Handrob's clientele are pets with owners working in healthcare and practising self-isolation.
Health professionals are being housed in hotels so that they can be close by. It reduces the amount of travel they have so they can get a bit more rest in between their working shifts. And so we're here to care for their pets when they can't be. But even if, if you're in self-isolation, if you have suspected COVID-19, or just, if you're ill in general, we can really assist and make it so much easier for that owner.
One of the key factors is ensuring that they're not inconvenienced at all. So we do a pet taxi service for them, pick up from their home. We can even pick up from the hospital if it's required. We have got vet on call 24 hours. And the key for us is keeping them connected. So we do FaceTime or a Zoom in with them or whatever it needs to do so they stay connected whilst they're in hospital.
High five.
The other real great thing for us, it gets my team back in the workforce. You know, they love looking after pets, they love engaging with them, and it's really critical for me to ensure that people from all different ages stay engaged and keeps our values of our family business going forward.
It's a win-win for everyone. Low cost, happy pets, happy owners, and proof that making a living isn't always about what we get, but what we give.
They're just like us. You know, everyone's coping as much as they can indoors at the moment. Well, animals love their time outside as well.
We've been really pleased with the outcome. For us as a company, one of our values is to help the community. For people that are reaching out and supporting us, it's really, these difficult times is nice to have.
Good boy. It's a good boy.
Andrew's not-for-profit support program is available in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and the ACT. So, Darcy, have you ever put Dennis up in 5-star luxury?
Yes, I have to say, my mum's house by the beach, that is his happy place. He loves spending time down there. Still to come, we check out the innovation that takes a bit of elbow grease. But up next, the tracking technology that's helping fight the flu. Back after this. Yeah, flu and coronavirus have been called the dreaded duo as they pose a big threat, particularly to the elderly and frail. And more than 20,000 flu cases have already been reported in Australia this year. And as we know, the flu season's only just begun. Yeah, the big difference, though, is that there is a vaccine to protect people from getting the flu. The other key weapon in the fight is the use of online tracking. For the past 14 years, Australians have volunteered to take part in a national surveillance system to monitor flu cases. That's true, and I spoke to an expert in communicable disease and the director of flutracking.net, Dr Craig Dalton, to find out more. Can I start with flutracking.net, your inspiration in starting this many years ago, and tell me how many people use it and how effective is it?
Yeah, so look, we started in 2006. In 2005, I read an article called "Did You Have the Flu Last Week?" It was about a phone survey of 1,500 people in Sweden trying to get 1 week snapshot of flu symptoms. And I thought, gosh, there's this internet thing now, which would probably make that a lot more efficient. So in 2006, we launched with 400 people. And it's grown each year, particularly during the 2009 influenza pandemic when it was quite useful. We had about 8,000 people then. But last week, we had 150,000 people across Australia and New Zealand respond to our surveys.
Well, that is fantastic. So let me say it again, flutracking.net. And I wonder, Craig, whether this is going to be a way of the future. And I read with interest a stat that I'd like you to comment on, that as of this time last year, there were 16,000 flu cases. We've had 99, I believe, in Australia so far. What do you make of those numbers?
Yeah, look, the last time I looked at the flu stats in terms of laboratory data, they were about half through February. So I think they have dropped quite dramatically. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we think the social distancing is working really well. So all respiratory symptoms are decreased because a lot of the bugs just aren't transmitting between people so much, which is great. And also, a lot of the testing has shifted towards COVID-19 rather than flu. So they're actually testing less for influenza this year. And
Craig, we're hearing the government talk about an app that they are encouraging Australians to sign up to. And it's, I suppose, in the vein that you have been for over a decade. And can you talk us through that model and whether you're a supporter of it?
What it basically does, it's a proximity detector. So it just logs your proximity to other people that come within, say, a 2 metre or 1.5 metre range, and logs the mobile phone numbers of those, so that if you go back and need to see who you've been there, you can go, the app can be downloaded, the data can be released, and those people can be telephoned. So it could be a good prompt. Obviously, there are privacy concerns that some people are raising. Probably the location tracking that's already happening on your phone is probably more of a privacy concern than this is, but it's for each individual to make up their own mind. Our app is quite different with flu tracking. We're just reporting on cough and symptoms. People do give their postcode when they join, and then we look at the number of people who have cough and fever in each area, and people can, when they join, they get a report each week. They can go onto our map and look at their local postcode and see the flutracking.net participants around them and how many have cough and fever.
Craig, do you see as a way forward in the future, if these things inevitably continue, that we get to a point where we wake up, we brush our teeth, we have a glass of water, have our cup of tea, and we jump on and we let the world know exactly how we're tracking in terms of this? Is that a potential in the future?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, like we've got 150,000 people doing it now. It's like 1 in every 66 people in New Zealand are doing it. So it's getting popular. And I think the secret is taking no longer than about 10 seconds. People are happy to give 10 seconds for the health of their community, for research, but it's got to be short and sharp. Other than that, we're going to rely on data that's just captured automatically. Perhaps it'll be monitoring fever and smart thermometers, or even on our phones, our smartphones and smart watches.
And Craig, do you see part of flutracking.net and any other app as a solution for us to come out of the lockdown scenario more effectively, where if you can pinpoint it to a little part in Newcastle where you're sitting right now and you say, OK, let's put a specialist team in there rather than shut down the whole of New South Wales? Is that a solution?
It could help with geographically focusing on a particular hotspot and getting the people in that area to decrease their mixing and increase social distancing. It could work like that. The other thing it can do is that the flu tracking data kind of dropped down very quickly before or as the lockdowns came in, as people socially distanced. And so we expect it will rise ahead of COVID as well. So if we see flutracking.net data rising, that's probably a warning that COVID is on the way, that we've got conditions that might be conducive to spread. So it might help us gauge how well we're doing with our social distancing.
We'll hear more from Dr. Craig Dalton in the coming weeks. He has some interesting thoughts on what our working lives will look like after the coronavirus, Joe.
And as of this week, the government has said that people must be vaccinated against the flu before visiting aged care facilities. This is to protect residents and minimise the potential impact on the health system. Flu season typically peaks in August, so everyone needs to get the shot. It's free for people over 65 and kids 5 and under, and it really does make all the difference. So just go and get the jab.
Other key ways to combat the flu are the same as coronavirus, so wash your hands, cover coughs and sneezes, avoid sharing drinks and food, and keep cleaning those surfaces, Joe.
Oh, I never stop. Trust me.
Hey, up next, Hinesy's here with some home workouts, plus we meet an inspirational Aussie who spent months in isolation in Antarctica right here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back, Joe. Our mate Hinesy is an absolute legend of epic proportions. When it comes to healthy food and exercises, he's right at the top of the tree.
Oh, he really is, and he's been putting our friend Gus Wallen through a 10-week health challenge, which may have gone just a bit over the 10 weeks, but Gus has really given this his best shot, and the results are just amazing.
He's doing a great job, Gus, especially now being at home and so close to the kitchen, and he has told us that is his favourite room in the house.
For many of us, I tell you, I've been spending a lot of time there as well, Darcy, but while we all don't have Hinesy at home to put us through our paces, he has plenty of home workout routines, which I've actually been doing, and they really work, let me tell you. They get the best results. And of course, why waste a perfectly good fitness session? Get Gus along and make him do it too.
Now, Gus, you might be thinking I'm heading over here to cook you up a nice curry, but with these cans, we're actually going to work out. I want to prove that you don't need a gym to stay fit during this self-isolation period. What do you reckon?
Perfect. I love it, mate. Thank you. I need some new ideas.
Well, let's crack into it.
Thank you, Luke.
Keep your distance.
Okay, yep.
All right, exercise 1. I want your legs shoulder width apart.
Yep.
This is a really good cardio exercise to get our heart rate going. Today, I've added some tinned food for resistance, which is fantastic. You don't need to use these, but you can. So I want you to hold these out almost like you've got boxing gloves on.
Yep.
And we're going to punch with the right. That's it. We're going to punch with the left. We're going to go right knee up. You can do it. And the left knee up. All right, so let's do one more practice. Okay. It's right, left, knee, knee. Right, left, knee, knee. Keep going. Right, left, knee, knee. Right, left, knee, knee. Right, left, knee, knee. I tell you what, coconut cream's quite light. Yeah. Imagine doing it with baked beans.
Oh!
Next level. Mate, this next exercise is a fantastic total body form of cardio. I call it a switch because you jump into a switch position. So you start with your right foot in front and your left arm forward, and then we jump and switch that position like so. Boom. Switch again. You can even, instead of making that noise, say switch. Ready? Switch. 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 Now, what's interesting is I know you're dealing with a hip injury at the moment.
Yeah.
So what you might want to do is simply walk through the positions like so. See that?
Yeah.
You're still moving.
Yep.
Bring it up a bit. That's it. So everything is adaptable depending on your fitness level,
Okay.
activity, or injury.
Okay.
Now that we've got the 2 cardio workouts out of the way, the third exercise I want to introduce you to is the squat press. Now this engages our biggest muscle group in our body, our legs. We add some shoulders in there for good measure. The more muscles and the bigger muscles you use, the more calories you're going to burn during your session, essentially getting more bang for your buck. So what I want you to do is start with your legs shoulder width apart. We're going to carry our tins, if using them, on our shoulders here. We're going to squat back and down, and then use your core and your butt to push up through that movement, and then meet with those tins in the middle, back down to shoulder height and repeat. Down into a squat and push. And use your core the entire time. That's it. That's it. That's it. Bend your knees, Gus. While we're here working our legs, I've got another killer exercise which really works them in a fantastic way. You're going to start with one weight up on your shoulders, otherwise just an empty hand is fine. And as you lunge backwards with this right foot, the right hand goes into the air and it looks like this. That's it. So when it goes back, pushes to the sky. So you'll do 5 reps on this side, and then you'll swap sides, put that weight down, weight up here, and swap to the other side. And it looks like that. So you can choose how many reps you do each side, but you want to go to fatigue so that you can't do any more with really good technique safely. Now it's time to get those beach muscles rocking and rolling. So this is all about bicep curl up, arms out to the side, shoulder press there and back and around. Bring those arms around and curl them back to your body, okay? Again, this is what it looks like. A nice curl up. Open up your arms, up to the sky, down, back in, and then slowly down. We're going to really nail our arms and our shoulders with this one.
Okay, brother.
What's it look like?
Okay, so up there like that, turn around, up, and then meet.
Yep.
Back down again, back in, back down again.
Mate, you're a legend.
Look at those puppies. These puppies need a bloody licence.
They need a leash.
Yeah.
Well, they say that invention comes out of trying times, and we've seen lots of innovation and ideas and extraordinary actions from people during this whole COVID-19 setback. Darcy, I'm loving it.
Yeah, and none more innovative than something that seems so obvious at a time when touching has become almost obsolete. I spoke to Christophe Semke from Materialise, a Belgium-based company that's making 3D printed door handles. Can I just start by asking how your device works, what it is, and what you've come up with?
Well, we are a 3D printing company, and we have come up with a way to open doors without using your hands. Door handles are one of the ways that people pass on the virus, and so they're a high risk of contamination. So what we've come up with is a sort of a paddle-shaped extension of a door handle that you can mount on an existing door handle that allows you to open and close doors by using your arms instead of your hands, and this door opener is in fact 3D printed.
It's brilliant and a brilliant idea. Were you working on this prior to the world of coronavirus, or did you switch to making it as the challenge unfolded?
We came up with this idea in a meeting internally where we were trying to figure out how we could protect our employees and visitors. And so we came up with this idea on a Wednesday, literally in a meeting when, actually our CEO formulated the idea. And literally within 24 hours, we had a first physical prototype of the door handle. And the amazing thing is that we then decided to make that file available for the world. And so in a matter of hours, that file was being downloaded all over the world. And so I think that really, that's the strength of 3D printing.
And what a great credit to you and to the company to actually allow that blueprint to go to anyone with a 3D printer. It seems like an incredibly generous thing to do. Do you know how high the uptake has been so far?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think this is the right thing to do nowadays, right? I mean, if everybody's chiming in and trying to help out, and so are we. So far, the file has been downloaded more than 80,000 times around the world, which is obviously impressive. And it's being downloaded by individuals, who just have a home 3D printer, but it's also being downloaded by hospitals. We got a thank you note from the Mayo Clinic in the US. They're one of the most prestigious and advanced clinics in the world, hospitals in the US. They actually have a 3D printer in the hospital, which they use to 3D print models of hearts and lungs to prepare for surgery. They downloaded the file, 3D printed the door opener, and installed it in the hospital. And so that was just, that was really exciting to hear.
Christoph, I believe you've come up with a slogan that works for the new device that you've created.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the slogan per se. As I said, we created the device in 24 hours and made it available in the next few hours. So it's not like there's a massive marketing strategy behind it, but we do wanted to, inform people and show people that what it was. So we came up with a slogan that said, "Do less harm, use your arm." We printed that on a sticker, and so we're shipping that, or we're making that available to people so they can actually, glue that on the door, stick it on the door, so that they know what this little device is and that they know how to use it.
I like it. Do less harm, use your arm. You can create devices using 3D printers and marketing geniuses at the same time. Christoph, I want to thank you personally, as I think I'm more of a germaphobe than I realised. One of my pet hates is going through a toilet at an airport and having to touch the doors. So I'm hoping, thanks to you and thanks to Materialise, that may be a thing of the future, and perhaps, as we found out, it may save a few lives along the way as well. So congratulations again. It's been great to chat to you. It's a great story, great innovation. Well done.
Thank you very much, and stay safe.
So there you go, Joe. Do less harm and use your arm. I love that slogan.
I like it. What a brilliant concept. And the fact that anyone can download the design and make it themselves is just fantastic. The whole 3D printing thing, I've got to say, does my head in.
Yeah, great story, Joe, and one that shows just how thinking outside the box goes on in times of necessity. Next, we meet a hero from closer to home as a leading Antarctic researcher tells us how she rose to the challenge of extreme isolation. That's coming up next here on the House of Wellness. You're watching the House of Wellness, Joe. One of the biggest challenges for me at the moment is simply working out what day of the week it is. It's like one day is rolling into the next in isolation at the moment.
It's true. I think it's helpful to have some structure and routine. So you make sure you get up and you have breakfast and you get dressed and you do things so you don't just fritter away the whole day. But I quite like having a little bit of freedom as well, getting outside, being creative, because we'll never get this time again.
Yeah, and I'm loving having everyone together at home. We've got one daughter and three boys, so more than our fair share of blow-ups at the moment, it's fair to say, but there's some great connections and lots of conversations that I haven't heard before, doing things that we haven't done. So hopefully we're going to look back with this time with a bit of fondness.
Yeah, that is really beautiful, Dust. But imagine being in lockdown in minus 35-degree temperatures during endless months of darkness with no access to mobile phones, TV, any privacy or the outside world.
Yeah, Joe, an inspirational Australian working in Antarctica did exactly that. Rachel Robertson led a team of 18 people on a year-long expedition to the freezing South Pole, where they endured months of social isolation. The tools she used and the lessons she learned resonate for all of us. Well, it's probably prepared you pretty well now for what we're all going through, which is isolation, and no more isolated place on Earth than Antarctica. Tell us about some of the things that got you through that 18 months that are lessons for us now.
It was tough, but as you can imagine, it was the interpersonal stuff that was the toughest. So the environment's harsh, no doubt about it. Minus 35 degrees, blizzard, it's dark for months of the year. That's harsh, but living so closely with people with no privacy, the boredom, the mundane nature, it's pretty similar to what we're going through now. And a few things that helped us, one of the things that we did was we had a rule called no triangles, and no triangles just simply means I don't speak to you about Luke. If I have something to say to Luke, I go direct to him. I don't take it to a third party. And it built respect in the team, but it also meant when we're under pressure, when you're under stress, the last thing you need to worry about is somebody complaining about you behind your back. So just that one simple tool of no triangles was one thing to build respect in the team and keep us sane. The other thing I'm doing with my family is, I call it the bacon wars, and it really was. It was a fight in Antarctica about whether bacon should be cooked soft or crispy. And when I got to the bottom of it, I realised that one team thought the other team was deliberately cooking the bacon the opposite way to irritate them. And I thought, wow, this is not about bacon, it's about respect. They're feeling disrespected. So I started identifying all these little things that happen in any team that irritate people, and it's because they're a symptom of a deeper issue. So when I had to start sharing this office with my husband, we had to have a conversation early on about things that might irritate in this shared space and get in front of those bacon wars and actually solve them before they become a big issue, because the last thing you want is it festering and then people getting anxious about it and then they explode and you're like, wow, where did that come from?
Well, Rachel, I feel like I've got my version of the bacon wars at home. We're having so many more family dinners and it's brilliant and beautiful, but they all want to sit in the same chair at dinner time. So that turns into a ripping pre-dinner fight. How do you go about fixing that one?
That's a classic. It's a classic bacon war, and it's the same as people who take the car out and bring it back without petrol in it, or people who leave wet towels lying around. The only way to broach it, or the best way I found to broach it, was to talk about respect. So I've got stepchildren, and they'd put the dirty dishes in the sink when the dishwasher is right there, and I'd say, please, can you just put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher? But it was only when I said, look, I feel like you think your time's more important than my time. When you do that, I feel like you expect me to pick up because, you know, you think your time's more important. It was only when I talked about respect that the sort of penny dropped and it clunked into place. So I think if you talk about it as an issue around respect, not chairs or dirty coffee mugs or petrol, then, yeah, people seem to get it a bit more then when they understand why it's irritating you so much.
And what did you learn about yourself as a leader, Rachel? Suddenly 18 people are looking at you 24/7 and picking your cues as to how to behave in Antarctica under those trying conditions. What did you learn about yourself?
So a couple of things I did to keep myself sane. One of the things was I was really great friends with one of the other station leaders. So I'm at Davis Station. I was really great friends with the leader at Mawson Station, 1,500 kilometres away. I could never see him, but I could pick up the phone and talk to him and say, mate, I'm dealing with they're fighting about who put the milk jug back into the fridge without milk in it. And he'd say, oh, mate, we had that fight last week. This week they're fighting about who made up the orange juice concentrate incorrectly. And it was such a relief that someone knew what I was going through. So that peer support was so important to let me know, wow, it's not my leadership, it's just human nature. We all experience this. The other thing that really helped me, and I would never have thought to do it, it's just that one of my mentors suggested it, was I kept a journal. I actually wrote in a journal every night, and that was really helpful to get emotion out so that I slept better.
The analogies with, I suppose, living in Antarctica are quite profound at the moment. What would you say to people how to get through this situation?
Talking to people now about coming out the other side, and when we come out the other side, people will respond differently to noise, for example, or choice, or even physical contact. There's people who've been on their own, living on their own for a month, 5 or 6 weeks, and not even a handshake. And so I think as a team, as a community, we just need to understand that people are reacting differently, and we will continue to react differently, and that's okay because we are different, and what stresses one person might not stress someone else out. So just being mindful of that and understanding that, I think, is going to be our biggest strength going forward.
Rachel was the youngest and just the second female expedition leader to Australia's Davis Station. And she calls herself an ordinary person, but she's clearly capable of extraordinary things.
Yeah, and one of the biggest flare-ups she had to manage was the so-called bacon wars, where two team members fought over whether bacon should be cooked soft or crispy.
Oh, I would fight to the death over that. It has to be crispy, crispy, crispy. You don't want a wet, soggy bacon. Come on. What I did enjoy was Rachel's tip about speaking up and addressing any issues or conflicts directly with the other person. And I love that advice, not just for our time in lockdown, but for in life.
From bacon wars to a sweet treat that's good for your body, apparently. That's coming up next here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. Well, being home day after day has put a bit more pressure on all of us to get creative in the kitchen. Joe, tell me, what key ingredient is your go-to at the moment?
I'm really loving eggs. I'm making a lot of frittatas, lots of baked eggs, scrambled eggs, whatever I can manage. But I've always been a big fan of potatoes, which are relatively cheap, really versatile, and a good source of fibre and minerals. But Darcy, how would you go eating only potatoes for a whole year?
Surprisingly okay, I think, Joe.
Telling me
I spent a bit of time in Ireland and you get offered every meal, roast potatoes, baked potatoes, boiled potatoes, mashed potatoes, and I just say one of all the above. I love them.
Okay.
Not sure about a whole year, but I'd give it a go.
Yeah, well, a few years back, an Aussie schoolteacher did just that, eating nothing but the humble spud. Hines caught up with this one food wonder to dig up the facts on potatoes.
So, Andrew, in 2016, you ate this many potatoes every day for an entire year. Now, I have a lot of questions for you, but why potatoes, mate?
Yeah, well, all my life I'd struggled with weight, and I was really good at losing weight and then putting it all back on. And I realised one day that my problem was an addiction issue rather than a weight issue. So I figured that if an alcoholic should quit alcohol, then maybe a food addict should quit food. Obviously, you can't quit entirely, so I decided to quit every food except one, and this is the one that I didn't quit. Today is the end of my first day of eating only potatoes. It's a very daunting thing for me to go without all the delicious things that I love to eat for a year. Potatoes was the obvious choice, as they cover all the nutritional bases. You get all the protein, carbs and fat that you need, and all the vitamins and minerals are all covered, so the rest is history.
Today, Andrew's treating me to his signature dish, the potato waffle. But I was not prepared for just how strict the rules of his diet are.
Waffle iron here, it's a non-stick.
So this is it, you're not adding anything in, it's just pure potato.
Pretty simple, yeah, just pure potatoes. We'll just stick them on each side.
Yeah.
You can see they're pretty well boiled. It's falling apart a bit. That's good. It means it's nice and soft. To squash them down. Here we go.
Is that the naughtiest we're ever going to get? A
Pretty
waffle
much.
with no oil, nothing else, cooked like that?
Well, we might put a little bit of sauce on it.
Can we use seasonings, marinades? How far can we go with the sauce? Can we drench the potatoes in a barbecue sauce? What's the rule there?
Yeah, it's just keep it really minimal is basically the rule. It's not supposed to be about trying to find the most interesting ways that you can eat potatoes. Really, I've got a little saying, it's make your food boring and your life interesting. Yeah, so it's still a little bit squishy. Ideally, it should be one of life's great pleasures, but for some people, myself included, it can be a source of misery. When I get home from work at the end of a stressful day, for example, and usually that'd be my cue to tuck into a box of ice cream, and I haven't got that option available to me, then what am I going to do? I'm going to have to find something, a more healthy way to deal with my emotions.
I find it incredibly fascinating. My background is as a foodie and a cook. So the question I have is, didn't you find yourself just scratching the walls with boredom?
Yeah, well, the first couple of weeks was really hard. The first couple of weeks was a test. So there you go. There's a potato pancake, a potato cake, I call it. It took a couple of weeks before I noticed that for the first time in forever, I'd actually had 2 good days in a row. And then I started to think, hey, maybe something's happening here. And yeah, it just got better and better, and to the point where I'm not clinically depressed anymore. The last day of the Spudfit Challenge, it's a weird feeling. I don't know what to feel today. It's been the best year of my life.
How sick to death of Mr. Potato Head jokes are you?
Yeah, I've heard them all.
Yeah, you have, haven't you?
That's okay.
Well, I'll spare you my favourites and let's get into these waffles, shall we? Andrew's story is incredible. But now comes the moment of truth.
Cheers.
So unseasoned, no oil.
Bon appetit.
Give it a crack. Tell you what, better than I first thought. What do you reckon?
Tastes like a potato, eh? Look at them. I know that sight.
What do you think the biggest takeaway for you has been?
Life is about more than, what do you call it, instant satisfaction. There we go, yeah, mashes quite easily. I'm a food addiction coach now, so...
Really?
Yeah, so that's what I do with my life now. I try to help other people deal with food addiction, and, it's not just changed my own life, but it's been able to influence some other lives as well, so it's lovely.
Well, it's incredibly empowering and delicious. A little bit of salt.
A little bit of salt.
A little bit of salt, let's be honest.
Well, I think Hines is still reeling from that one, Joe, but he did say that he really liked the squashed potato waffles. They sound good.
He also said that anyone who takes processed and refined foods out of their diet and only eats one kind of whole food, like a potato, is bound to lose weight. So it's not the potatoes that caused the kilos to drop, it was the change.
OK, well, plenty of cultures like the Russians and, as I said, the Irish have lived on white potatoes for centuries and managed to avoid nutritional ruin. So could you do it?
Look, I think I'd need to mix it up with something crazy like, I don't know, a pumpkin every now and then. What about that?
Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
A little bit different to be doing makeup like this.
I know, you're like my beauty fairy godmother over my shoulder.
I'll take that. I love that. I think now more than ever, that whole thought in all our minds that we weren't going to be wearing any makeup and sitting at home letting our skin breathe, it's not really eventuated that way.
I absolutely thought I was going to get away with wearing nothing for the next few weeks.
Know, me too.
Now you're on camera all the time for meetings. You need to still get your boss pants on. So
what does a fresh face look like? It exists somewhere between a full face of makeup and not wearing any at all.
Yeah, but that naked look where you've done something but it looks like you haven't done anything, that's
the hardest.
The bit. Yeah.
It is. So natural makeup is really about skin still looking like skin. I love adding colour and keeping you looking young, fresh, but also more than anything healthy, because that's what we all want to look like today. So I think firstly, lip health. We're inside in Melbourne weather. It's air conditioner on, heater on. This week we've had a bit of everything. So it's really important to look after your lips because they crack, they can go quite flaky, and on calls you want just a nice natural lip but maybe not a bright red. So with that in mind, if you just grab that lip balm by Burt's Bees.
Pomegranate lip balm, oh amazing.
What's great about this lip balm is that it's natural and it's really beautiful on your lips. It hydrates it without giving you too much colour. So if you pop some on, you'll see how easy it is, and also the colour.
Yeah, you expect it to be so much darker, but I love that it's really neutral.
Yeah, it adapts to your lip colour and lip shade. Keeping it as close to natural as possible is always a plus, and I think it's really important when you're using it every day. The next step for me would be your skin. Now, firstly, you'd put on a bit of SPF. It's still important to have some SPF. People think because they're at home that it's something you don't need. You actually do. Then the next part, I would probably mix in a little bit of the Illuminator and BB cream. So you've got your glow on, your base, and your moisturised lips. So now I think the most important step for me, which a lot of people leave out, is that bit of colour in your cheeks. Is this something you would typically do? I don't think you would.
Oh my gosh, this is brand new.
This is brand
new information.
So blush, but done right.
So we're just dabbing?
Dabbing, yep, to the apples of your cheeks to begin with, and then lightly you can blend that out.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's such a nice peachy colour.
It is really beautiful. If you'd finished at the gym and you've got a bit of a blush and you're looking healthy, that's the look we're going for. So Sarah, now that I've been hovering over your shoulder, do you feel that you could do this at home yourself?
Absolutely. That was so much simpler and easier than I thought it would be. What I love about it is that it still looks like me, it still looks quite natural, but just everything is a bit more enhanced, and I love that. I love that natural look.
Yay, my mission here is done.
Here's Hinesy and GQ with the perfect dessert to whip up while in isolation.
GQ, I'm so sorry you can't be here today because we're following regulations and practising social distancing. And I got to say, it's probably for the best because I don't think you could keep your distance from the delicious mousse that I'm going to be whipping up today.
Hinesy, mousse is one of my favourite desserts, but we are being responsible, and that's why I'm doing my part by staying in Melbourne.
Love your work, GQ. Now, I've got to tell you, my version of chocolate mousse is actually plant-based, packed with B vitamins, and one of my favourite ingredients, chocolate in its most natural state, mineral-rich raw cacao.
There are so many wonderful health benefits from the ingredients you've got there, Hinesy, but let's focus on the benefits of that raw cacao powder and focus on the benefits of magnesium.
Now, magnesium's naturally occurring in our body in abundance, right?
Yes, it is. In fact, we've got 25 grams of magnesium in our bodies, Hinesy, but that 25 gram has huge responsibilities. It really is important for the health of our muscles and our nervous system because without magnesium, our muscles cramp and they get tense. We get aches and pains and spasms as well, because magnesium regulates muscle contractions and relaxations. Really, really, really important for maintaining healthy muscle function, particularly during exercise and when we're stressed.
Well, I tell you what, mate, it sounds like it's perfect for those who are doing their exercises in isolation, and this chocolate mousse is going to be the perfect reward for doing so. Plus, it's packed with magnesium, so it's a bit of a win-win diet-wise, yeah? Now, hang tight. Now, GQ, speaking of diet, we've done a bunch of magnesium-rich recipes, which means it's found in lots of different foods, yeah?
Well, in real food, Heinzie, but not in processed food. It's actually difficult for us to get a lot of magnesium out of our food, and that's where a supplement play a role. Did you know that a third of Australians have poor levels of magnesium in their body? But it's really important to get good advice from a qualified health practitioner to make sure you're being guided to the best decision.
Great advice as always, GQ, and I've got some great advice for you. Don't look too closely at this delicious chocolate mousse, because I tell you what, you'll be having some socially isolated jealousy going on.
Just wrap it up, Heinzie. Send it to me, please.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Bioceuticals, your choice for high-quality, practitioner-only therapeutic supplements from a proudly Australian company.
I have to admit, I sleep no matter what, anywhere, anytime, whether I've got a clear conscience or no conscience, but isolation hasn't affected that in any way.
Well, you're very lucky, because anecdotally people are speaking about their sleep being very disrupted at this time of isolation. So all I can say to that is make sure you exercise, try to meditate, or at least do some breath work during the day. And for me, easier said than done, but I've got to lay off the sugar. Just stop eating chocolate is all I'm saying.
The other thing that I found useful, Joe, is to limit media exposure about the virus. You can get into overdrive and read too much, can't you?
Absolutely, I would agree with that. You want to switch off, distract yourself with something else. This is a great time to tackle all the stuff we never have time to do in our normal lives. And I've seen some great things. There was a couple on Facebook who got married on Facebook. I love that. That's something a bit different to do.
That's definitely different. Well, that's all we've got time for today. If you'd like more on today's show and from our previous shows, head to our website, houseofwellness.com.au for more information. Tune into the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday for another feel-good fix. And thanks, as always, to our good friends at Chemist Warehouse. Until next time, stay well, stay home and stay safe.